As we have learned, there are two Kazakh newspapers in Omsk. One of them is published by Maxim Spotkai, a young man 23 years old. He is an organizer of Kazakh weddings and events. If you ever call him, you'll hear this music. We are calling him to set up an interview.
I'm a student, a senior undergraduate student of the Technological University. Since 2013, I also publish a bilingual Kazakh newspaper Zamandas here in Omsk. The first issue was published on December 16, 2013, Kazakhstan's Independence Day. There are almost 3,000 Kazakh students in Omsk. It's now easier to enter the university in Russia rather than in Kazakhstan, even for the citizens of Kazakhstan. A Russian-speaking ethnic Belarusian came to Russia from Kazakhstan to study in the university and opened a Kazakh language club. Do you speak Kazakh, by the way? Of course I do. And so you can say I'm not only a Russian-speaking, but also Kazakh-speaking. Wherever we are at the moment, we remain the citizens of the Republic of Kazakhstan. We have to do everything we can to promote its culture and traditions. I believe so. How do you know Kazakh so well? I did not study in a Kazakh school, and I did not live in a Kazakh-speaking town. I guess I just wanted to learn the language. Kazakhs from Omsk and from Kazakhstan differ in their mentality. So what's the difference? Different outlooks and views. They really have different points of view on the global problems and events. This is due to the languages they speak too. They speak different languages. What about Russians? Do they differ? I mean, the Russians in Kazakhstan and here in Omsk. Absolutely. I may say that Kazakhs in Russia and Kazakhstan are still a single nation, while Russians in Russia and Kazakhstan are already two different nations. Last year, we organized 115 events. I mean, there's a huge demand. Weddings, anniversaries, and events like that. Are they held completely in Kazakh? It depends on the guests. Many people ask for half in Russian, half in Kazakh, or for most in Kazakh with some Russian pieces. It's clear that if all the guests understand Kazakh, we do it all in Kazakh. It's even easier for us. If there are many Russian friends, we definitely need to make a Russian translation. How do Kazakhs react when you come out and start speaking Kazakh? They have already got used to me in Omsk, I guess. But initially people were surprised, even shocked, I may say. I guess it's cool, and it encourages some people to learn the language. At least they told me so. When you graduate from the university, do you plan to stay here in Omsk, especially with your company and client base? Or do you plan to return to Kazakhstan? I plan to return to Kazakhstan. It's all about mentality, I guess. I have been here for almost 6 years, and I can't say I've got used to Omsk, and I think they need me more in Kazakhstan.
Maxim publishes his newspaper Zamandas in two languages. The name of the newspaper on the front page is written using the Latin alphabet. Maxim believes that a switch from the Cyrillic to the Latin alphabet in the Kazakh language is inevitable. Leaving Maxim and his Kazakh ceremony center, we head to a village called Russkaya Polyana, or Russian Meadow in English. Despite its name, this place is closely connected with Kazakhs. The road which leads there, a road from Russia to Russia, passes through the territory of Kazakhstan. Residents of the village Alabota complain that they constantly experience problems on this road.
You won't even be able to buy a bus ticket to this place. How do you think people can come here to their parents' graveyards? How? On the day of rejoicing, for example. If you had come across the border guards just now, they would have taken you in and fined you. Russian guards or Kazakh? Russian, of course. Penalties, fines, and stuff like that.
The governor of the Omsk region suggested that this road section should be exchanged for a piece of land without roads. However, the problem is still far from being settled. We soon enter a part of Omsk region with numerous Kazakh villages or auls. In Karazyuk aul, we go into the local mosque.
We were brought up in the Kazakh language. We don't forget our traditions, religion, and we try to promote it to our younger generation. Now we have Kazakh classes at school. It's all official. We try to keep it alive. In the 1990s, Nazarbayev addressed himself to Kazakhs living abroad, asking them to move back to Kazakhstan. Did people leave? Your homeland is where you were born. We live in Russia, we have our mosque Kamtelula, we freely pray here. There is no discrimination or ethnic strife. We recently celebrated 320 years, right? 320 years since our ancestors first came to this land. We have many graves of our great-grandfathers here.
The Imam takes us to the house of Nurjan Manjolov, whose father, like he himself, wrote books on the history of the aul. Nurjan's children learn Kazakh at school as an optional course. His daughter Asel also learns to play dombra, a traditional lute. When our hosts treat us to tea, we discover that we have a friend in common, the Kazakh ceremonies organizer Maxim Spotkai.
He's the one, isn't he? His company is called Mackay and Jacquet. I've already attended 6 or 7 weddings organized by them. He's a Russian, but he speaks perfect Kazakh. And you should see how he presents all that.
Russian, but he knows Kazakh.
He's good, isn't he? Does he know all the traditions? Absolutely. He even carries out kashat. Not he himself, but he organizes all that. He's a very educated young man. He has successfully occupied a niche with a service that didn't even exist in Omsk.
The road to the border runs through Irtysh. There is no bridge in this place. A ferry operates here in summer, and in winter cars drive across the ice, if the weather permits. We are in luck. The temperature at -32 degrees allows us to cross the river. In the evening, we cross the border with Kazakhstan and go to Pavlodar. We turn on the local radio again. About 70 kilometers before Pavlodar, we turn into the village of Peschannoye to pay a visit to Father Oleg.
By 1823, the Cossacks of the 6th Siberian Regiment founded several villages here along the Irtysh River up to the town of Ust-Kamenogorsk. A church has always been on this very spot. The foundation of the old church go through here near the bench. The first priest of this church, Father Vasily, is buried under the church, either somewhere in the altar or right here. Let's move to this side. I'll show you. Here we have the icon with the relics of the holy martyr Vissarion of Urjar. He is buried in Urjar on the border between Kazakhstan, China and Mongolia. He served here in this church as a deacon before the Russian Revolution. Then he was ordained as a priest in Pavlodar. He served in Semipalatinsk, and in 1918 he was shot in Urjar. In Soviet times, the church was used as a cinema, then as a mill. The bread was baked here. Well, it was a common story for those times. All the churches experienced that. 4 years ago, we opened a Sunday school. Here we have a small library and a dinner table for the kids. We can also go upstairs. It's a Sunday school here? Yes, Sunday school. Do many children attend? Not many. This year, just 8 kids. We used to have up to 40 children attend in our Sunday school, but people leave. There is no much work here. People prefer to send their kids to the Russian schools. In Omsk, Barnaul, Novosibirsk, Surgut. All towns that are pretty close. Yes, they don't send their children far away. All the towns are close. And this settlement, what is it called today? A village or a town? It's an aul. I mean, we call it a village in the Russian manner. The population is about 2,500 people. Most of the population here are Russians, right? There were few Kazakhs before. They used to live in smaller farms. After the optimization program, they left their farms and Kazakhs moved here, while native Russian citizens left for Russia. Did they build a mosque here? They didn't. Why not? It requires a lot of money, and after all, you need people who want to attend it. When the Soviet Union collapsed, we couldn't have imagined that it would be like that we would have to stand in lines in the border to pass through customs. We were deceived. We all voted to save the USSR in the referendum, but we were deceived. After it happened, did you ever think to leave? Leave for what? I have some relatives in Vologda and Kursk, but we don't really communicate much. We exchange a few words on the internet once in a while, but nobody is waiting for us in Russia. Our feeling is that this is our land. Our Cossacks settled here up to Uсть-Kamenogorsk. There are some minor attempts to rewrite history here, just like in Ukraine. They want to portray Russians as colonizers. Is there a difference between Russians living in Kazakhstan and Russians living in Russia? I think we are more Russians here rather than those who live in Russia. We are tolerant, we respect others. I have several Kazakh friends here in the village. They are simple. Once simple, always simple. If you were not born in the right caste, then that's your top limit. They would all vote to restore the USSR if there is a poll, because they remember the free education and the free medicine. There is a farm 28 kilometers away from us, which has stayed without electricity for 18 years, and every new Akim promises electricity to them. Are Cossacks organized here? Do they have any authority? Well, yes, but only after he was appointed as an honorable hetman, community leader of the Cossacks. But still, the Cossacks are not allowed to carry arms. Registered Cossacks in Russia may carry their arms, but it's prohibited in Kazakhstan. Say, Cossacks enter the church with their saber. When the gospel is read, they draw it out halfway. It has a symbolic meaning. They protect Orthodox Christianity. It's not allowed here. In 1990s, the Cossacks didn't behave properly, though. What was wrong? They were often taken in by the police. Now it's okay. On the other hand, people should have something to rally about. It's not enough if you only have your historic uniform and nothing more, no arms. We wanted to open a camp for the kids here. We've seen the same camp in Russia, in Novosibirsk. There, they cooperated with the army. They had an armored personnel carrier and rifles in the children's camp. The kids were playing with that and they had fun. We can do the same here in Kazakhstan. I often see critics of the church on the internet, and I believe half of that is lies. People write about priests driving expensive cars, about their jewelry. You should go to the village and see how the real priests live. I made 6 round trips to get the hay today, then removed the straws out of my beard and met you. They wouldn't write about that. They only write about the priests who visit the health spa every morning.
We had intended to drink tea with the father Oleg, but the conversation didn't stop.
We, the Cossacks, are against the relocation programs. You'd better help the Russian-speaking people living here. We are all supposed to be pro-Russian. And if we all move back to Russia, we, the last people who still promote Russian culture here, it's not a secret what would happen. We would be left alone. Nobody needs us there. We don't have electricity on the farms here. And the same thing in Russia. People live without electricity for 15 years, just 10 kilometers away from Sverdlovsk. It's the same everywhere. Why would we swap one trouble for another? We are losing Ukraine because we didn't help Russians there. We can lose Kazakhstan too. We were close to losing Kyrgyzstan. We have several families in our community whose relatives live in Ukraine, Nikolaev and Lugansk. The sister of His Grace the Bishop, for example, lives in Lugansk, which is bombed every day. But the Patriarch told us not to take the side in the conflict. We just prayed that there was no fratricide, because if you take sides, you cannot get out of this. I even have friends who believe that it was all Putin's propaganda and everything was fine in Ukraine.
At the end of a long conversation, we head to Pavlodar late at night.